Hello everybody and welcome to PESA Presents on volcanic products. So many know what a volcano is, but what are some of the things it produces? What kinds of rocks or unique features result in an eruption? Those are some of the things that we're going to look into right now, but first, a couple of basics. Now, obviously, a volcano, but what are some of the parts of it? Now, centrally, you have the ash cloud right there coming out of the top. The what's called sometimes the throat of the volcano is also known as a conduit. The molten material itself is magma. When it is beneath the earth, when it is erupted, it is known as lava. And that eruption comes out of the mouth of volcano, basically, which is also known as the crater. So there are different types of volcanoes. Cinder cone volcanoes are made out of layers of just that, ash and cinders. Composite volcanoes have pretty steep slopes that are made out of composite materials, a mixture of different kinds of things. Shield volcanoes have a very gradual slope, and those are formed from the eruption of low viscosity material. Good example of those would be the really famous ones on Hawaii. They're a lot bigger than what you would almost think they are when you're standing on them. Now, this is a photo from one of those, this is the Thurston Lava Tube in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. So this was basically a channel through which this lava moved through for the volcano. And then over time, as these volcanoes change, different lava tubes, different outlets for the lava get covered up or alter. And so the lava stopped coming through here, and then everything hardened up. And now you can actually walk through it. This is the major crater for the volcano itself, Kilauea that is. It's called Halemaumau. Now, what's that smell? When you're around these volcanoes in Hawaii, you get a very distinct odor in the air. Now, 99% of the gases emitted during an eruption are CO2, SO2, and water vapor. The remaining 1% is a very vocal 1% at that. Teensy amounts of carbon monoxide, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen fluoride, and other gases. That sulfur is what causes the rotten egg smell common to volcanoes, but all in all, the gases really are not something to mess with. They can be actually very, very dangerous, and the one day that my husband and I were at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, they had to close the park, in fact, due to the dangers of the gases that were present. So there are three general categories of rocks. You're looking at igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Igneous rocks are formed from the cooling and crystallization of molten material during an eruption. So how can one tell that an igneous rock cooled slowly or quickly? Well, that all comes down to its texture. So aphanitic rocks cool too quickly to form large crystals. I mean, see that right there? You can't really see individual crystals. So in other words, they were formed from lava that erupted, exposing it quickly to cooler air. Examples of this are basalt, which is right there on the left, andesite, and also rhyolite. Now, glassy is when the lava cools so quick it can't form crystals at all. So famously, you have obsidian. Now, note obsidian is indeed what's called volcanic glass properly, and it is not a crystal. It comes in many varieties and colors and is kind of unstable. It's not one of those things that if you get it dirty, you want to wash, and you're not really supposed to have samples up to direct sunlight and other things. So when you have it, just, display them carefully. Now, pegmatitic results from when really big minerals form during the cooling process. These are usually found in igneous rocks with a composition like granite. Now, the large clasts, or basically these segments, can even have some pretty interesting stuff. My personal favorite is garnet, but you can also even have topaz in there. Phaneritic is technically a volcanic product despite its forming beneath the surface. You have visible crystals on these rocks. So this means that the rock had time to crystallize and cool very slowly on its own. Examples are gabbro, diorite, and granite. Now, let's play a little game, shall we? Name that mineral. So this is an example of quartz. So if you have a sample of quartz, you're already well on your way towards your own mineral collection. Now, the little flecks right there are quartz. The dark ones are biotite or hornblende. Your pink is K feldspar, and then the white ones are Na feldspar. Now, porphyritic texture. These happens when conditions change because this is a volcano. It's a natural thing and a pretty volatile one at that, so conditions can sadly change on a moment's notice. So at first the crystals had some time to cool and they started forming as usual. Those ones are called phenocrysts. But then there was a very fast cooling. Something happened that caused the remainder to adopt a more aphanitic texture. Now, pyroclastic is kind of an iffy division. Some classify it as a separate thing, basically a separate kind of volcanic product. Now, these are such things as ash, volcanic bombs, and what have you. Also, too, Pele's tears. Pele is the patron goddess of Hawaii. She's also known over there, as a matter of respect, as Madame Pele, and little basically flecks of obsidian that are shaped like tears. They're Pele's tears. Ash is a common byproduct of volcanoes, as sadly those that were affected by Vesuvius in 79 CE sadly got to know all too well. This is one of my favorite's a bad word, but this is one of the most impressive individuals I think that was left behind. After the eruption, when they started in relatively modern days going back in here and looking through things, trying to explore the site in terms of its archaeology, they noticed that they were finding a lot of these voids. So they put plaster into these voids and they actually got basically casts of the people that were passed on because of the eruption. So there's this person right here just trying to raise himself above all this, and I just find that very impressive and a great testament to his strength. This here is Pele's hair, very, very thin, just microfilaments of volcanic material ejected from a volcano. My husband found them everywhere in Hawaii. I couldn't find a single darn thing. He was finding them constantly. Pyroclastic flows are a very, very dangerous effect of a volcano. Very fast, have a very high concentration of a great deal of materials in there. Now, this is from a volcano in Montserrat in January of 2010. Now, sorry, I always laugh when I see this sign. Tsunamis are a very common result of a volcanic eruption. Now, when my husband saw that in Hawaii, he just kind of pointed at that and he's like, so you're supposed to be running towards the wave? Which, no, I do not recommend. If, God forbid, you are ever in a tsunami, do not do as the sign does, and please run away from the giant killer wave. Do not run towards it. This is a volcanic bomb out of actually Romania. Lots of places have volcanoes that you may or may not necessarily realize. And this is just a nice little photo towards the end, reminding you of some of the strength and really the majesty that is volcanism. So thank you very much, folks, and enjoy your day now. Bye.